Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, amma ba'd. Firstly, I greet you with assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And bearing in mind that as the full meaning of all the peace and salam that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can bestow upon you, all the rahmah that can envelop you, and all the barakah and blessings that could accrue to you in every aspect and element of your life. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen, for all of us, inshallah, and for the entire mankind and animals alike. Secondly, we will continue with our lesson on the fiqh of Ramadan. Again, I'm using this book by Imam Husain Evans. It's called Ramadaan and Eid. It's got a lot more information than just Ramadan in it, and I would encourage everybody to try and get a copy of this book, inshallah. I'm not advertising, I'm just suggesting because it's very beneficial. Secondly, my disclaimer is that, again, this is only the Shaafi Fiqh, bearing in mind that there are a number of platforms for the Hanafi adherents to the Hanafi madhab to get their information with regards to Ramadan. And I would encourage you to look on askimam.com. It's Darul Ifta Mahmudiyah, run by Mufti Ibrahim Desai in Sherwood, Durban, South Africa, for those who are international, right? So we've discussed a number of things with regards to Ramadan, the fara'id, the sunnah al-makruhat, as well as the things that break your fast in Ramadan and things that do not break your fast. We will continue with Fidiyah. Now, let us first start off with who is required to pay the Fidiyah. Firstly, a chronically ill person who cannot make up his missed fasts. I'm going to give just a couple of suggestions. Somebody who's maybe got cancer and they can't fast. They're doing chemotherapy. Somebody who's got heart problems and the doctors have suggested not to fast. Somebody who's got high blood pressure, hypertension, etc., etc. There are a number of medical conditions that would basically allow you not to fast in Ramadan. But this Fidiyah needs to be paid by certain people because they cannot make up those fasts either. So you can't, you're not exempted from fasting in totality and then there's nothing, it's just over. You still get the barakah and the reward of Ramadan by paying the Fidiyah. Firstly, a chronically ill person who cannot make up those fasts, he would be or she would be exempted from fasting firstly, and secondly, they would need to pay Fidiyah per fast. Secondly, a person who is very old and cannot manage. Now, from our previous lesson, we discussed a number of people. These are the people who do not need to fast at all and pay up the Fidiyah, right? And then a pregnant woman or breastfeeding woman who fears for the life of her child or for her own life would be required not only to pay the Fidiyah, but she would need to make qada as well. Remember, a chronic illness or old age, it's not something that's going to go away. It's chronic, and old age is obviously not going to be reversed, right? A pregnant woman is not going to be pregnant forever, and a breastfeeding woman is not going to breastfeed forever. So this Ramadan, because she can't fast in Ramadan, because she's been not medically boarded, but she's been told by the doctors or out of experience knows that she can't fast or she can't manage the fast. So she would be required to pay the Fidiyah and then make qada. That means repeat those fasts after Ramadan when she does manage to have the strength for that, right? And fourthly, a person who delayed qada for last year. Now this generally happens to travelers, or it happens to women who have been exempted from fasting either through their menses, postnatal bleeding, or breastfeeding and pregnancy. So we have until the next year, Ramadan, to catch up these fasts. Now, assuming for whatever reason, and basically it boils down to laziness, honestly, right? Unless you contracted a very serious illness and you just couldn't manage. It's generally going to be laziness or a lack of discipline that would lead one to not make up the qada fast. So my suggestion to the ladies who are menstruating in Ramadan, you're allowed to use medication to delay your cycle. If you would like to do so, please do so with the consultation of a professional medical doctor. But if you've now gotten your menstrual cycle or postnatal bleeding, you had a baby before or during a Ramadan and you've missed certain fasts, then keep track of those fasts, and before next year Ramadan, make up those fasts. It's a very simple thing. Generally, the woman's period is not going to exceed 10 days. That means if you fast one fast every month for the next 10 months, you would complete your fast a month before Ramadan, right? So try and do this, please. Allocate one day in the month and make up a qada fast. It's very simple, right? It requires discipline And the only way, like Mufti Ibrahim Desai, the Mufti in charge of this AskImam.com website, very, very senior Mufti, by the way, extremely learned and a very, very great pious man of our time. Allahu Akbar. May Allah bless him. May Allah bless him and accept him. Ya Rab. Alright? So, he mentioned, plan your work and work your plan. That's a millionaire's quote, deserves to be written in gold. Plan your work and work your plan. A person who wants to be disciplined is a very simple method of disciplining yourself. Firstly, I'm going to refer you to a book called Focal Point by Brian Tracy. Extremely beneficial book. I've read it and I've mentioned it before. Very, very important, right? However, a simple thing, draw up a plan for the year, a timetable, a schedule, time management. Effective time management essentially is what will get you a lot of barakah in your time. And don't do anything else in an allotted time for something. For instance, if you've allotted the time for maybe reading Quran, when the time comes for reading Quran, do not do anything else. And when the time for reading Quran has passed and it's now time for something else, don't read your Quran in that time. You've missed it. Now, after your schedule, in your free time, which is and you must have free time allocated for yourself, right? In your free time, that's when you make up your Quran or whatever you've missed in the allotted time. May Allah bless us with tawfiq. So listen carefully. Fidya will not be paid on behalf of the chronically ill and the elderly when they have passed away. Somebody got cancer, couldn't fast in Ramadan, and now they didn't pay fidya for those fasts. You can't pay fidya on their behalf. You can't fast on their behalf either, right? So it's over. It's gone, right? Neither does anybody have to fast on their behalf, right? So remember this, especially a friend of mine recently passed away from cancer. May Allah have mercy on him, Uncle Naeem Jacobs. He was a trustee of a masjid as well. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. I think about this man and I just cry, Allahu Akbar. I humbly appeal to everybody, please read Surah Ikhlas 3 times and convey it to the ruh of Uncle Naeem Jacobs, who was an absolute star of an individual. Just a quick digression. He left Islam, may Allah save all of us, at the age of 19 for whatever reason. And at 49, he arrived at my masjid one day and he told me that, this is what has happened. And he's re-accepted Islam and he's now practicing a Muslim. I promise you, brothers and sisters in Islam, this man embarrassed me. He was such a good, exemplary Muslim. Allahu Akbar. May Allah give us tawfiq, right? So, he recently passed away of cancer. And his wife's biggest concern was, what about his fasting in Ramadan? What about his salahs? What about he couldn't manage, right? So if he didn't pay fidya on his own, and he didn't make a bequest in his will to pay fidya, because it's a chronic illness, and he was exempted from fasting, inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would forgive him for that, because he was exempted. Okay? So these are the people who are supposed to be paying fidya. Again, it's people who are chronically ill and cannot make up those missed fasts anyway because of their chronic illness. It's a person who's so old that he cannot manage to fast in the first place and therefore is exempted. Now, an interesting thing of the Shafi'i madhab that is not in the Hanafi madhab, that if you are chronically ill or you are so old that you can't fast, but you attempt to fast, and during the day you realize I can't manage and you then break your fast, it's not wajib or compulsory to repeat that fast. For the Hanafi, if you do start the fast, despite the fact that you're chronically ill and you shouldn't be, or because the doctors have told you not to, or you're so old that you can't, but you try, and then you break your fast, you will have to then repeat that fast, right? Again, a pregnant and breastfeeding woman, she will have to pay the fidya as well as qada, according to the Shafi'i school of thought, and a person who delayed the missed fast of the previous year. So if you were supposed to make up your 7 fasts or your 10 fasts from your menstruation or your postnatal bleeding, or you were traveling, you didn't fast those days, and you didn't make it up, and the next year Ramadan comes. So you have to fast this Ramadan for this year. Then, after that Ramadan, not only do you have to do the qada of the fast which you missed, you also have to pay fidya per year, per fast that you've missed. So let's say you missed the fast in 2014 and you haven't made qada yet. It's now 2020. This year's Ramadan. 5 years have gone by in the interim. And now you have to not only make qada of the fast you missed, but you also have to pay 5 years fidya per fast that you missed. So this is why I'm saying, please plan your work and work your plan. It's very, very simple. Just drop a short timetable. Allocate a day in the month. Let's say the 10th of every month I'm going to fast, regardless of what day it is, and you fast on that day, inshallah, very easily you'd be able to make up all your fasts. So what is the Fidyah? We're paying Fidyah, but what is Fidyah, and who needs to, and how do you pay the Fidyah? So Fidyah is compensation a person pays when he is unable to fast or unable to make up the fasts later on, right? This applies to the month of Ramadan only. So it's only for missing fast in Ramadan. If you missed a sunnah fast, there's no Fidyah or qada. If you've taken an oath to fast on a specific day and you didn't, there's only qada, there's no Fidyah. Fidyah only applies to the month of Ramadan. What can be given as Fidyah? I'm going to advise everybody here, please. If you're a Shafi'i, then refer to the MJC Darul Iftah for these questions. Whatever they say you should be paying in Fidyah, let us stick to that, inshallah. The ulama have gone to great lengths to ensure that you and I do the right thing, and everything we do is in accordance with the Sharia. Therefore, we try our level best to follow the ulama. Okay, so it is better that the Fidyah be paid in the staple food of the person receiving it. So the ulama of the MJC have allocated, therefore, rice, because it seems to be the predominant diet, the predominant staple food of the Muslim community in South Africa. And therefore, they have suggested that we pay rice. Okay, and the Fidyah is 600 grams of rice. By the way, you're allowed to give more. So if you, for instance, are paying Fidyah for 30 days in Ramadan because you're too old or you're chronically ill and you can't fast, and you buy 31 kg bags of rice, which you then give in Fidyah per day of fasting, that's excellent because you've given a little bit extra. Okay, it is permissible to pay the equivalent Fidyah in cash, which is normally calculated on the price of 600 grams of wheat, according to the Shafi'i school of thought. However, brothers and sisters in Islam, let us again refer to what the MJC, the Muslim Judicial Council of South Africa, which is predominantly Shafi'i and they cater specifically for the Shafi'i school of thought, and their Darul Iftah is centered on the Shafi'i madhab. Let us refer to them for our rulings, inshallah, in this regard. And to whom do we give the Fidyah? Fidyah is to be paid to the poor, the destitute, the traveler, a person with an overwhelming debt, a new deserving Muslim, right? Basically, Fidyah is given to people who can receive zakat. So you cannot give Fidyah to a person who cannot receive zakat. The person you're giving the Fidyah to must be eligible to receive zakat. Okay? Fidyah due from many people can be given to one person. Contrary to zakat, you shouldn't give so much zakat to a person that he now has enough money to be able to give zakat, even though your zakat would be valid, right? With regards to Fidyah, if I, for instance, have a family of 20 people, all of us are medically boarded, all of us can't fast in Ramadan, and now we want to give 600 bags of rice, and we give it to one single person, it's perfectly valid and acceptable, and your Fidyah would be paid. Okay, you don't have to give each bag of rice to a different person. This is contrary to if you're giving the kafara fast, right? So if you are paying kafara in cash, which is supposed to be in food, a meal twice a day, then that can't be given to the same person. It must be given to 60 different people. We'll get to what the kafara is, right? Okay, how often is Fidyah given? So Fidyah is paid for every day that a person cannot fast in Ramadan. So assuming you traveled, now you traveled in the beginning of Ramadan, you were gone for 3 days, you traveled in the middle of Ramadan for 3 days, and the end of Ramadan for 3 days. So a total of 9 days you did not fast. Therefore you have to give Fidyah per day you didn't fast. That's 9 in this case, right? So if a person cannot fast for the entire month of Ramadan, he needs to give 18,000 grams, right? 18,000 grams, it's 18 kgs of rice, of the staple food, or the equivalent cash to the poor. I must point out though that the MJC has said that the actual view of the Shafi'i madhab is that you should not be paying in cash. That is a Hanafi ruling, right? Now, I did say I'm not going to discuss the Hanafi ruling, but this is pertinent. So let us avoid, as Shafi'i, adherence to the Shafi'i madhab, let us avoid paying in cash. I'm not saying it's not valid. If you've given it in the past, inshallah, it should be valid, right? But what I'm saying is that the MJC has ruled that we should be giving this in food, the staple food. Let us stick to that, inshallah. Many brothers, alhamdulillah, have helped us out. And again, simply go to a cash and carry, you buy 1 kg bags of tastic rice or whatever other rice you want to buy, Specco, I'm not advertising, I'm just saying, these are the brands I know, right? You give that rice in Fidyah, inshallah, it should be valid, right? And when is Fidyah due? Fidyah becomes due once the month of Ramadan commences. So if I know now that I'm chronically ill or old or medically boarded for whatever the reason, whatever the case may be, or for whatever reason, and I'm not going to be able to fast Ramadan 1441, which is Ramadan 2020, I can't give my Fidyah now because Fidyah is due because you've missed a fast in Ramadan. Ramadan fasts only become compulsory once the moon is sighted for Ramadan. Therefore, I have to wait for the moon to be sighted for Ramadan before I give the Fidyah. So, assuming the moon is sighted on Friday night after Maghrib, for argument's sake, then from Friday night after Maghrib already I can give all my Fidyah out for the month of Ramadan because I know I'm not going to be able to fast. Okay? So individuals who know that they will not be fasting the entire month of Ramadan can pay the Fidyah all at once. It doesn't have to be given a bag of rice every day. Right? Fidyah becomes due in Ramadan but will be paid as and when the person can afford it, even in years to come. So let's say I haven't been able to fast for the last 10 years, but I haven't had the money to give the Fidyah either, because I myself am a recipient of zakat. And then one day Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses me with my lucky break, and I pray at this juncture that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alleviates the financial difficulty, the hunger, the starvation. People are really struggling because of this lockdown, especially those who work day jobs and they get paid per day. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. We pray that Allah grants them all afiyah. Allah must grant us afiyah. May Allah protect us. And I'm going to encourage everybody, those of us who do have money, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us all with wealth. But those of us who do have, if we can just think about this, had I been a person who was working a day job or a piece job, as they say, not peace as in P-E-A-C-E, P-I-E-C-E, a piece job, one day at a time, and I don't have money to buy food and I don't have food to feed my family, but my neighbor or somebody I know in the community is sitting with a bank balance of 50k because it's his savings. And brothers and sisters in Islam, let us part with some of this money and help our Muslim brothers and sisters out. And sadaqah can be given to non-Muslims as well. If I know there are people in my community, in my street who are struggling, there are old age homes, there are orphanages, give to these places. Don't expect, just give to these places. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will multiply that for you tenfold plus. Allah says He will multiply tenfold, 70-fold, 700-fold, and even more for whoever He pleases. The Quran says, 1 grain spent in the path of Allah is like an ear of corn. When you plant an ear of corn, it pops up into, not an ear of corn, an ear of wheat. It pops up into 7 ears, each ear carrying 100 grains. So that's one seed that you've given, but you will get 700-fold the reward. And Wallahu yudha'ifu liman yasha, and Allah will give more to whoever He wants. So it's difficult for all of us, but it's more difficult for some. So let us, those who are struggling a little bit and can manage to part with a few hundred rand, let us give in abundance. Brothers and sisters in Islam, we have nothing to lose by investing in our akhirah. Nothing whatsoever. May Allah give us tawfiq. Right? So again, if I was supposed to give Fidyah for 10 years and I couldn't pay that Fidyah because I didn't have the money, all of a sudden Allah blesses me with my lucky break. Now I do have that money. Calculate all the Fidyah you were supposed to pay and go and give that Fidyah. Allahu Akbar. May Allah make it easy for all of us. So then let us just discuss quickly the kafara, right? Before we get to kafara, let's complete the qada. So qada means to make up for the fast that we've missed. Missed fasts in Ramadan are compulsory, just as the Ramadan itself was compulsory. Therefore, we have to make up those fasts, right? Like I said, preferably before the next Ramadan. If you haven't, then together with qada, you'll have to pay Fidyah per fast that you've missed, right? And a person who misses fast in Ramadan only makes them up after the next Ramadan, like we said, will have to pay Fidyah, add per year that he delays. If he passes away, the Fidyah can be taken from his estate, and the heirs of the deceased can fast on his behalf for the fast which he owes. Okay? You can. You don't have to. You can. And if a person makes a bequest in his will that I have not fasted for so many years, I need to give the Fidyah after I die, the Fidyah must be given. It is compulsory for us to give that Fidyah because it is part of his bequest, as long as it does not exceed 33% of his estate. Right? The heirs of the deceased can fast on his behalf for the fast that he owes, but they cannot fast for the Fidyah that he owes. So if, for instance, he's owed Fidyah, now you could fast in Ramadan, but you didn't, then you can make up those fasts according to the Shafi'i school of thought. Okay, again, only the Shafi'i school of thought that I know of, right? The Hanafi school of thought, you cannot do this. But if the person was boarded and he was supposed to be paying Fidyah for those fasts, then it is not binding on you to fast for the Fidyah that he owes. You must give that Fidyah away. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq and understanding. Any clarification that you need on any mas'ala, any ruling that we've discussed, please do send us a message via the Facebook platform or via WhatsApp, and we will ensure that you get a reasonable answer according to the madhab of Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah ta'ala. Let us discuss the kafara quickly. Just get the reference here. Okay, so again, this is according to the Shafi'i school of thought. The kafara is slightly different according to the Hanafi school of thought. So Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu narrates that one day we were sitting with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam when a man came and he said, "Oh Messenger of Allah, I am ruined." He said, "What happened? How did you get ruined?" He said, "Well, I was intimate with my wife during Ramadan and fasting." So he said, "Well, do you have a slave that you can free? Because that's the first thing." He said, "No, I'm too poor. I only own myself. The only neck that I have in my possession is my own." He said, "Okay, well then you'll have to fast 60 consecutive days, including the qada." So it's the qada that you've missed because you've broken it through intercourse, and 60 consecutive days, so 61 in total. And the 60 consecutive days is such that if you missed one day in between, you have to start again. May Allah protect us. Ya Rabbil Alameen. May Allah protect us. Okay, so he said, "Well, then you must, if you can't afford," he says, "No, I can't manage to fast 60 consecutive days." He said, "Why?" "Because the problem I got into was because of fasting." Allahu Akbar. Sahaba was so awesome. Simple people. Allahu Akbar. He said, "I'm in this problem because of fasting. If I fast 60 consecutive days, I'll cause it again." So he said, "Well, then you must feed 60 poor people." He said, "There's no one poorer in Medina than my family and I." So from this hadith, we understand that the kafara for your fasting is due because of intimacy only. The Hanafis have extended this to eating or drinking deliberately. If it's accidental, everybody says there's no kafara. But if it's deliberate, you start fasting and you deliberately break your fast. According to Imam Shafi'i, only with intercourse, you will have to give kafara. For the Hanafi, intercourse, eating and drinking, you will have to give the kafara. Right? So what is the kafara? We've explained 60 consecutive days of fasting, which cannot be interrupted by a missed day accidentally or by a Eid day or any of the days that you're not allowed to fast the 3 days after Eid al-Adha. So this applies to Ramadan and Qada and the Qada of Ramadan only, not to Sunnah fast. So if I decided to wake up on Monday morning, I was feeling very pious and I'll fast a Sunnah fast and I start fasting and Allahu Akbar walillahi alhamd, I forgot it's my anniversary and I break my fast. So I'll have to do qada of that fast. I wouldn't need to do kafara for breaking that fast, right? So kafara is compulsory fasting of 60 consecutive days. These 60 days cannot include Eid or the days of Tashriq, which are the 3 days after Eid al-Adha. And the 2 Eids and the days of Tashriq fall within these 60 days. Then you will have to start your 60 days all over again. If Ramadan comes before your 60 days are complete, you'll have to start your 60 days all over again. So please be very careful how you do this fast. If you need to, may Allah protect all of us, may Allah protect you as well. If you need to, please start after the 3 days of Tashriq, because then you've got an entire 6-7 months before Ramadan. In fact, it's more than that. Okay, so listen carefully. Kafara also is due from the husband only, not the wife. The Hanafi said otherwise. Okay, even if she was fasting, she will only need to do qada of that fast. But the husband who couldn't control himself, the Hazrat, he will need to do the qada and the 60 days kafara. Okay, so if he can't manage this due to old age or ill health, then he will have to feed 60 poor people, and they must not be from his family. They cannot be from his immediate family, right? They will have to be strangers to him. 600 grams of rice, as we've explained, just like the Fidyah. And he cannot give this food all at once to a single person, as we alluded to originally in the beginning of this clip. He will have to give it to 60 different people, okay? If he can't even afford that, then it will be regarded as an obligation upon him until he is able to fulfill it within his lifetime before he dies, right? Otherwise, he must make a bequest and it must be fulfilled after his demise. Again, with regards to all these rulings, if any such a thing has happened to you, may Allah protect us. I'm not going to say that you do it on purpose. I'm going to say it happened to you, right? I have husnul dhann of my Muslim brothers and sisters. Please control ourselves in Ramadan. But if this happens to you in Ramadan, kindly send a letter directly to the MJC, explain what has happened and ask them for the ruling. They will forward you all the necessary information. Alternatively, as we've explained, you can contact Imam Husain Evans. You can get hold of this book. And if you ask myself as well, I don't claim to be a learned person. I do, alhamdulillah, though, have access to many great learned ulama. I will then consult with them and I will provide you with a reasonable answer. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us and protect us. May Allah grant us a beautiful, fulfilling, prosperous, spiritual, and an uplifting Ramadan. Again, please let us make our homes alive with ibadah. Let us get the families together in ibadah. Let us make a schedule and a plan and plan our ibadah. Make your plan and plan your work and work your plan. May Allah give us tawfiq and understanding. Whatever I've said that is correct is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the barakah of His Rasul and all our mashayikh and asatidah. And whatever I have said that is incorrect is from my nafs and from shaitan. And Allah and His Rasul are exempted and completely absolved from all of it. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.